Zendaya completely ignored Sydney Sweeney at the Euphoria Season 3 premiere.
She took photos for like 10 minutes, did 0 interviews, and then walked off the carpet into her car and left.
Zendaya really said, "I'm here so I don't get fined." She didn't go inside to watch the premiere.
4 years. 4 years of waiting. 4 years of cast drama. 4 years of behind-the-scenes chaos that would have sunk a lesser show entirely. And Euphoria Season 3 finally premiered. And the review embargo just lifted. And it is sitting at 52% on Rotten Tomatoes, dropping by the minute, making it the lowest-rated season in the show's entire history. Sam Levinson spent 4 years on this and delivered something that Variety called a glossy, disjointed version of itself that plays like fanfiction. IndieWire asked, and I need you to sit with this, how Euphoria became boring. That is the question critics are now asking about one of the most visually arresting, emotionally volatile shows television has produced in the last decade. Boring. But before we get into the reviews dismantling everything, we need to talk about the premiere itself, because that red carpet was its own separate episode. Zendaya swerving Sam Levinson in real time, Sydney Sweeney getting publicly ignored, a reality TV star using her interview slot to throw shade about stolen boyfriend, and the most genuinely moving moments of the entire night, the tributes to the people who are gone. All of it happened. Let's get into it. First, the atmosphere. It has been 4 years since this cast was in the same place publicly, and despite every rumor of feuds and fallout circulating during that time, a significant portion of them actually seemed genuinely happy to see each other. Jacob Elordi and Maude Apatow had a moment where he didn't recognize her at first, then immediately ran over and hugged her like they'd been separated since childhood. Sydney Sweeney appeared to be getting along with most of the cast. The general energy was warmer than the headlines leading up to this premiere suggested it would be. And then there was Zendaya, who arrived after everyone else, alone, shut the entire carpet down, and generated the kind of camera flash volume that should technically require an epilepsy warning. The Beyoncé of the event, main cast takes a group photo, and then she arrives separately to remind everyone why the show exists. By multiple accounts, she stayed approximately 10 minutes, showed up, outshone everyone in the building, and left. Her publicist allegedly steered her away from at least one situation that could have produced an uncomfortable photograph, and fans who were watching the footage closely are now absolutely convinced they know exactly which situation that was. Because Zendaya and Sydney Sweeney did not take a single photo together, did not appear to acknowledge each other meaningfully. Sydney was nearby, visibly in frame, and Zendaya looked directly past her. Now, people were already speculating about tension between these two after Sydney liked some tweets referencing Tom Holland rumors, which is the kind of social media forensics that would be unhinged if the result wasn't so consistently telling. And the premiere footage is now being treated as confirmation by everyone who was already leaning that direction. Meanwhile, there was a brief moment between Zendaya and Sam Levinson, the showrunner. She has a thoroughly documented, publicly acknowledged, legally significant conflict with Wheat where he visibly tried to get her to take a photo with him. The footage shows him essentially pulling her toward the camera, saying, "Come on, let's just do this quickly." And then Zendaya's publicist materialized and moved her away from the situation with the efficiency of someone who had been briefed on exactly this scenario. The internet decided Zendaya had arranged this in advance, which, knowing how strategically managed she is not an unreasonable conclusion. She said hi to Hunter Schafer, she said hi to Maude Apatow, she looked incredible, debuted a small tattoo that fans immediately diagnosed as a T for Tom Holland, stayed 10 minutes, and went home. That is a masterclass in attendance. Sydney Sweeney brought her presumed boyfriend Scooter Braun to the premiere, which, as a person who exists in the same cultural space as Taylor Swift fans, did not go unnoticed. They were photographed being visibly affectionate with each other in the theater, directly in front of Hunter Schafer's seat, and Hunter Schafer's facial expression in response was so perfectly calibrated that people are saying she is, in real life, giving full Cassie energy from Season 2. The commitment to the bit, whether intentional or not, is genuinely impressive. Labyrinth, who publicly and loudly declared he was done with Euphoria, done with HBO, and done with the industry in that now deleted all-caps Instagram post, did not attend. He went to both previous premieres. This time he stayed home and stood on business. Given that the reviews are now suggesting his music might be the only element of Season 3 getting consistent praise, the irony of that absence is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Now, the tributes. Because this is where the premiere stopped being gossip and became something genuinely heavy. Alexa Demi was asked to say a few words about Angus Cloud on camera. She could not get through a single sentence without crying. She just said she couldn't. And that was it. And honestly, that said everything that needed to be said. Hunter Schafer almost almost did not return to the show at all after losing both Angus Cloud and Eric Dane, and the weight of those absences was visible in everything about how she carried herself that night. Sam Levinson gave a speech about Angus that was heartbreaking in a specific, complicated way. He said he had tried to help Angus get clean before his overdose, and then he talked about how Fezco's entire character arc was built around not wanting to contribute to Rue's self-destruction, not selling to her, not helping her hurt herself, and the unbearable irony that the person who played that character died the way he did. Levinson said he could not keep Angus alive in real life, so he is keeping him alive on screen. Fezco is canonically alive in Season 3. Other characters will be heard talking to him on the phone. Levinson said Angus would have loved his arc this season because it's apparently hilarious, which is exactly the kind of detail that makes grief feel strange and specific and real. Eric Dane's situation carries its own weight. He filmed his final scenes while already dealing with the progression of ALS, which affects speech and physical control. He was self-conscious about slurring during filming. Levinson's response was to write his character as slightly drunk in those scenes, and Eric was completely on board with that solution. And Hunter Schafer shares one of his final scenes, and their characters reunite, which, if you remember the history between Jules and Cal, is going to be a genuinely loaded moment to watch. That scene was filmed approximately a month before Eric Dane passed away. Now, the reviews. 52% on Rotten Tomatoes and falling, certified rotten, the lowest score in the show's history by a significant margin. Variety calls Season 3 flashy and entertaining, but says it has lost its center of gravity, trading the grounded coming-of-age core for scattered, random storylines that lean into spectacle over substance. Disconnected, glossy, fanfiction. That is, Variety calling a prestige HBO drama fanfiction. The Hollywood Reporter notes that Lexi is almost entirely absent as a character, that Maddie is only slightly more present, and that Cassie's arc reads as a cruel commentary on the way Sydney Sweeney has been fetishized by the entertainment industry itself. Mashable called the depiction of Sydney's character's occupation an over-sexualization humiliation gauntlet. The New York Post said if there is a larger point being made beyond the camera, endlessly angling on Cassie's body, it is nowhere visible. IndieWire asked how Euphoria became boring, which is the question that should be printed on every review Sam Levinson reads this week. However, and this is the saving grace, both Zendaya and Sydney Sweeney are being praised for their performances despite the writing failing them. Critics are separating the actors from the material in a way that is genuinely notable. Zendaya might still be in Emmy conversation. She left after 10 minutes, but her performance apparently justifies the nomination. The show gave her less than it should have, and she still delivered. That is either impressive or deeply frustrating depending on how you look at it. Alexa Demi, who showed up, talked to every fan who approached her, cried about Angus Cloud, and handled every awkward question about her career with more grace than most people could manage. She barely has any screen time in Season 3. She has been public about how difficult it has been to book lead roles as a Latina and mixed woman in Hollywood. She said she has considered quitting acting. She was the most present, most emotionally available person at that entire premiere, and the show she helped build gave her almost nothing to work with this season. She deserves better than that. She is genuinely the people's princess, and the industry is not treating her like it. 4 years of waiting. One season that critics are calling boring, disconnected, and rotten. A premiere where the lead avoided the director and ignored her co-star and left in 10 minutes. And the most moving moments of the night had nothing to do with the show itself and everything to do with the people who are no longer here to see it. Are you watching Season 3? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Which character are you most invested in, and do you think the reviews are being fair? Like the video if this breakdown covered everything you wanted to know, and subscribe so you are already here when the next one drops. Class dismissed.